Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Kunamoni Camera. Today we are reacting to Good Enough's top 10 animals that love being high. I guess everybody has to love being high, I guess. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and remember to leave down suggestions down below. I love suggestions, and here we go.
Let's get the easy ones out of the way and slowly work our way up to the worst offenders on the list. Number 10, cats. This one is more of a misconception rather than an animal actually abusing a substance. If you have a cat, then you've more than likely tried giving them Nepeta cataria, or better known as catnip. Now, this one is not really a drug like the others on the list and is actually an herb that is very closely related to mint. But it does contain a compound called nepetalactone, which can have a mild and temporary stimulant effect on some cats. And that's the thing with catnip. Some cats are affected by it and will go absolutely crazy for it, while others just remind you that you cannot buy their love and they still don't want anything to do with you. Now, catnip has many different effects.
My cat doesn't really like catnip that much. When you give it to him, he just kind of like runs in a circle. That's not really that much of a treat to him.
On cats, but here are the most common ones. They will roll around in it. They will become very hyper after they ingest it, or they might just become very relaxed. Number 9, dolphins. This is another common one that most people have probably heard of. Everybody loves telling the story when they themselves are under the influence, so let's just get this one out of the way. Yes, it's true. Dolphins are the real menaces of the ocean and are despicable losers who love to get high. They do this by first surrounding a pufferfish and proceeding to take turns lightly biting on it. Not only will they nudge and bite the pufferfish, the potted dolphins will take it a step further by launching him out of the water and playing catch with him, making sure that pufferfish is completely traumatized for the rest of its existence.
Ow! Ow! Hey, what's the gag?
And as you can imagine, this causes the puffer to go into a full panic, triggering its defense mechanism, releasing a toxic poison called tetrodotoxin, which is one of the most deadly poisons in the world. To put it into perspective, one pufferfish has enough poison to kill 30 adult humans, or about 15 average-size Americans. Now, even though it's deadly, dolphins have learned exactly how much of the poison they can tolerate without dying. They've actually been filmed passing the puffer around for 20 to 30 minutes at a time before letting it swim off. The effects that the poison has on the dolphins is pretty interesting. They seem to go into a euphoric state where they become very calm and relaxed, even being mesmerized and completely fascinated by their own reflection on the surface of the water. Number 8, birds. Okay, now we're getting to the ones that most people have not heard of, but have probably seen firsthand. Have you ever come across a dead bird that crashed into a window or building? And you sit there wondering, how is it possible that it had unlimited airspace to fly around in and yet still managed to crash? Well, the truth is that it was probably flying under the influence. This usually happens after the first frost, which causes fruits and berries to ferment, producing ethanol, a type of alcohol. And of course, birds know this. They will then proceed to eat as much of the fermented fruit or berries as they can to get completely hammered. And in certain parts of the world, bird alcoholism is on the rise. Just look at Yukon, Canada, where they have built a sanctuary for birds that have had too much of the booze, which is basically a drunk tank for birds. Here, they are placed in tiny cages until they sober up. But as soon as they do, they are released back into the wild where they can continue boozing. So next time you see a bird that isn't flying straight, just remember, he's probably a degenerate good-for-nothing alcoholic. Number 7, honeybees. This one is similar to number 8, as most people probably won't know this one, but once you hear about it, you'll realize that you've come across it at one point in your life. Now, this one is a little more violent and doesn't have the ending that you would find at a massage parlor. Have you ever come across a honeybee that's crawling on the floor and doesn't seem to want to fly? As a kid, I used to think that this was because the bee had recently stung someone and is now dying a horrible and painfully slow death. But now as an adult, I'm way more informed. Now, when I come across a crawling bee, I now know that it's either completely blocked out drunk or dying a horrible and painfully slow death. You see, when the temperatures rise, the nectar in plants can become fermented, and you guessed it, it becomes alcohol.
So there's like a lot of natural fermentation
from the plant and drink some of that sweet fermented nectar.
But you never really think about that.
Drunk. And this is when you might find a bee that has lost all control of its sense of direction and motor skills. Now, the sad part is, if by some miracle the bee manages to return back to its hive, it will have to go through the guard bees. Think of these guys as the bouncers of the hive. but a lot more violent, aggressive, and heartless. If a drunk bee shows up to the hive, one of two things will happen.
You good,
he will
bro.
either get a lifetime ban from the hive,
Oh, shit.
or get
Is
his
that
arms
possible?
torn off, wings torn off, legs torn off, antennas torn off, and eyes torn out. Die a horrible and painfully slow death. But don't worry, it's all done for the sake of the colony, since fermented nectar in the hive can cause the entire colony to collapse.
Oh,
Number 6.
It's kind of strange
fruit
that they already
flies.
know that.
Researchers
it's like
at a
innately
San
known in
Francisco
them.
University have found that male fruit flies don't handle rejection very well. The research shows that when male fruit flies are rejected by a potential partner, they actually seek out alcohol. Who would have thought that I
What?
had so much in common with the fly?
Ew, that's
Number
sad. Why
5,
would-
vervet monkeys. Now, this is the last animal on the list that belongs in an AA meeting. And the reason why they rank so high on the list is simply because they're not just alcoholics, but they are outright disgusting criminals. When these monkeys can't get their fix from fermented fruit, they turn to a
It's
life
all
of
about
crime,
fermented fruit.
stealing alcohol from
Everything's
tourists.
about
They're
fermented
damn
fruit.
good at it. They patiently wait in the shadows for the perfect opportunity, and the moment a person sets their drink down will be their first mistake. Because as soon as you look away, it's already too late. The monkey will have its greasy little hands on it and already slurping the alcohol down. They do have some of the coolest pictures though, so I'll give them that.
This shit, is
These
this like
monkeys are such a
vacation
problem that
spots?
the Caribbean island of Saint Martin has recently passed a bill that would allow them to exterminate all the monkeys.
Shit.
Apparently all 450 of them.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
You know, as soon as I said that
Why
last
is
part, I
that
realized that I
good?
probably could have left that part out. Number
That's
4,
terrible.
the black lemur. Now we're moving on from pufferfish and alcohol and moving on to the hard stuff. Okay, to be fair, pufferfish is pretty insane, but a lot of people already knew that one, so I put that at the top of the list. But let's move on, starting off with the black lemur. Who would have thought that these cute animals from the island of Madagascar would turn out to be such despicable and heinous creatures? The black lemur has a diet primarily made up of fruit, but on occasion, it does love to consume a toxic combination of chemicals, which include cyanide. It's able to consume this when it finds a millipede and begins to lightly chew on it. This causes the millipede to curl up and release a toxic chemical that is meant to deter animals from eating it. But to the lemur, this chemical just signals to the boys that they're in for a wild night. Unlike the others on the list, there is actually
God.
one health benefit for getting their hands on this dangerous toxin. And after just one hit from the millipede, the lemur begins to drool uncontrollably. They then
that's
begin
so
to rub the
gross.
saliva and toxins
I guess
all over their
it
body
really
to
is like
protect
getting
themselves
high.
from mosquitoes, which carry malaria. But don't think it's all business. The lemurs continue to take hits from the centipede, consuming more and more of the toxin until they are completely obliterated. It reaches the point that they are so high that the only option left is to sleep it off. Number 3, reindeer. Remember that little red mushroom from the Mario games? As I'm sure you've heard, its real name is Amanita muscaria.
Oh, it's a real thing?
And it's insanely toxic and brings
thought it
on
was just
some
a cartoon.
very intense hallucinations. But this doesn't seem to matter to the reindeer of Siberia, Russia, which actually go to great lengths to seek it out and consume it. Once it's ingested and the effects
And it's a
kick in,
Russian
they begin
fruit?
to act in a very strange way. They end up running around aimlessly and begin making strange noises. But the reason the reindeer is so high on the list is simply because they are a bad influence on others. Apparently, humans watched them eat the magic mushrooms, and they made it look so fun that we just had to try it for ourselves. Some
It's our
people got
fault, man.
incredibly
They're so
high and began to
stupid.
have some
Why
of the
are
most
people so
intense and
stupid?
vivid hallucinations, while others died.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, you know what, we took a nail on this one, boys.
Sounds like
and we
any
should
other
probably
drug.
avoid these mushrooms from here on out. No. Someone had the brilliant idea of consuming the urine of the reindeer instead. Since he believed that the urine
Why?
would sterilize the toxins
Why-
but
what
keep
is
the
wrong
effects of
with
the
people?
mushrooms intact. And he was right. And after that,
What?
humans and reindeers could go on wild hallucinogenic trips together. Some people even believe that this is how the story of Santa Claus was created. This theory is called the magic mushroom Christmas theory. Number 2, jaguars. I guess even an apex predator needs a break from killing and ripping other animals apart. They do this by seeking out the yage vine, which is one of the major ingredients when creating ayahuasca, arguably the strongest hallucination drug on earth. And
this
once the cat
Japanese?
consumes it and the effects kick in, they begin to turn into a big, goofy, intoxicated kitten. A clip from BBC caught this all on tape a few years ago, and it's pretty interesting to watch. The native people of the Amazon claim that the jaguars
Amazon.
consume this drug since it heightens their senses, improving their ability to hunt. But they're in denial. The cat simply does it to discover things about the universe that he would otherwise not know. Like how Willy Wonka was a serial killer similar to Jigsaw, but instead of doing his experiments on adults, he would do them on children, and nobody ever batted an eye.
Yes, that makes
Number
sense.
1.
Makes
Parrots.
total sense.
Now, this one had to go last due to the severity of the situation. In northern India, these birds are so addicted to opium that the farmers have reported taking massive losses in revenue due to these birds alone. These farmers, who have special permission
I guess
to
that
grow
makes
the
sense when
plant
you're
from
growing something
medicinal
addictive.
companies,
You gotta
have tried
expect the
everything under
animals
the
to
sun
want
to
it.
stop these birds from eating their plants. And it's
I
not
mean,
uncommon
they're
to see
living
a parrot
beings
fly away
too.
with an
They're gonna
entire
have things
opium
they
pod
can't
to
resist.
himself. Apparently, a single parrot will come down and take a bite of the opium milk 30 to 40 times a day.
I don't
And
like
the
that
sad
it's
part
white.
is, since
I'm
opium
just
is
saying.
a hard drug with very real consequences to
It looks
health,
like
the
something
moment the
else.
parrots become addicted to it, they are as good as dead.
Oh, it looks so bad.
Because as soon as the
I don't
farmers
wanna
harvest the plant, the birds are left with such horrible
It's
red
like, I don't
claws
want to
that
look
it
at
ends up costing
Stop
them
showing
their
it.
lives.
Just stop showing
And
it.
parrots falling from trees and
Close my
electrical
eyes.
lines becomes a common occurrence. But it doesn't stop there. In the following year, once the
gone.
farmers plant the next batch of
gone. I
opium,
can live my
the
life
vicious
again.
cycle starts all over
Stop.
again. Like a
God.
never-ending nightmare.
Okay. That video was interesting. I never really think about animals getting high. And because why would I? If you have any comments or suggestions, remember to leave them down below, and I will see you guys later. Bye.